I'm gonna go ahead and say it conclusively, bigger is better. More screen equals more happy. But when it comes to televisions, specifically HDR, is brighter actually better? Welcome back, everyone. I'm Caleb Dennison, and that's the question. Is brighter really better? They say that with great power comes great responsibility, so where does the Vizio P-Series Quantum X come into that equation? It's got a lot of juice. It supposedly can do up to 3,000 nits. It's got like 790 zones. What does that all actually mean when you get to watching TV? Let's find out. Before we get into it, though, I just wanted to say thank you guys for hopping in the comments on the unboxing for this TV. You had some killer feedback and I appreciate it so much. Keep it coming. I love that. Leave a comment right now. I don't even care what it's about. Just say something awesome. Smack that like button, hit the subscribe button, and that will help us to keep making these videos well into 2021. So I found getting this TV's picture settings right where I wanted them to be trickier than I expected. I used CalMan software and a SpectraCal C6 meter to take measurements. And before I did that, I put the TV in calibrated dark mode with the local dimming setting down at low, because that is traditionally where you want to start. It's usually the most accurate. And when I measured it, it measured about 100 nits peak brightness in SDR, which seemed a little bit low, but when it went into HDR, I was getting like 2,300 nits of brightness. That is quite impressive. Problem was, the brighter the whites got, the more of a red tint crept in, and when I checked the white balance, sure enough, way too much red. So I went to making adjustments and it took more doing than I'm used to. Eventually though, I got the color right and color coverage and accuracy measured really well. I'll drop some more details in the comments on that. But here's the thing, when I got to watching real HDR content in the calibrated dark mode, dark scenes were just blackness. I bumped the local dimming setting up to medium, hoping it would help, but it didn't much, especially in the dark areas. That's how I have the TV set up now, in calibrated dark mode with medium on the local dimming setting. Unfortunately, it's not good for dark scenes. As you can see here, all we see is the silhouette of the mountains. There's nothing down here. It's all blackness, and that is not how it's supposed to look. So watch what happens when I go from calibrated dark to calibrated. Boom, we get all the detail we're supposed to here. You can see the foothills of the mountains, you can see the valley, there's water, there's trees, greenery. That's how things are supposed to look. I might make one adjustment for a dark room though. This is a little on the bright side. I'd bump full array down to low and you'll still maintain all of that detail that you're supposed to see without it being as intensely bright in a dark room. This is fine for most users. You're gonna be fine with those settings. I think that's really gonna be the best you can get. Unfortunately, it doesn't address the color issue that I talked about earlier. That involves going into the color tuner and making adjustments, and I'm not gonna share those settings because my panel may be different than the one you have at home, and I don't want you going in there and making matters worse. Honestly, if you want to get the color tuned up, it's probably time to call a calibrator. Now let's go back to black level performance. It's pretty good with the right setting. You'll get a good amount of shadow detail and blooming isn't too bad most of the time. You'll still get it with subtitles on letterbox bars though. Brightness is, well, it's intense. This TV is quite good at pulling off HDR effects, and it's pretty dazzling. If it weren't for the fact that white clouds tend to look pink without color correction, I'd say the power this TV offers is spot on. I'm a little concerned about the backlighting for other reasons though. It seems to be a little slow to catch up to the demands of the content. I've seen slight brightness shifts on this screen that shouldn't be there, and it isn't just sometimes. I see it a lot. Granted, this is a big TV, so it's a bit more obvious than it would be on a 65 or 55-inch model, but it's happening and I can't ignore it. Screen uniformity on this unit is pretty solid. I've got no complaints there, but keep in mind, this is a hand-picked sample from Vizio, so your luck with the panel lottery might vary. As for motion, I'm noticing a couple of things in really challenging scenes. In this flyover of New York City at night, the buildings stutter in their top to bottom movement. The good news though is that there's no moire here, and I see that a lot, so that's a sign of good processing. Another sign of good processing is little to no color banding, even in lower resolution and low bit depth content on YouTube. I don't have cable here, but I think it will do a decent job of upscaling that. Also, where we saw a bunch of shimmer on the Sony Z8H in these birds' feathers, the Vizio is getting pretty right. On the other hand, I have noticed that in some panning shots, the motion is smooth enough, but there's a flashing in bright areas that can be distracting. As for audio, not that bad, not that great either. It has some decent low end, so it's got a nice big round sound. It doesn't sound super tinny. Also, it doesn't seem like the sound is coming from the bottom of the TV. It actually has some presence. Still, Vizio makes some really great and even inexpensive soundbars, and they would be a great upgrade for this TV. Now let's talk about gaming for a second. Just a couple of things I want to say. One is that its input lag is pretty good at 13.5 to 14 milliseconds, and that's at 4K 60 with HDR turned on. The other thing I want to say is that this TV, like so many others this year, cannot do 4K 120 Hz with 444 chroma for gaming. It just can't. And we've seen that a lot this year. So if you're connecting your PS5 or your Xbox Series X and you want to max out the settings, you're not going to be able to do that. Fortunately though, Vizio's gaming engine is really good at talking with those game consoles, and it'll get the settings right for you automatically. I guess I have mixed feelings about the Vizio P-Series Quantum X, because one minute it's kicking ass and looking absolutely gorgeous, and the next it's doing something to put me off. It's hard to put my finger on it. Also, a TV of this caliber I feel shouldn't need so much color correction out of the box, but once it is corrected, it does some amazing things there. Not only is it accurate, but the color brightness takes it to places where I've never seen colors before on these 4K UHD Blu-ray discs. It really does go into new territory. So I guess the ultimate takeaway here is this TV is capable of greatness, but it needs a little bit of help to get there. Thanks as always for watching, everyone. What do you think of where I landed with the P-Series Quantum X? Leave me a comment down below, like, subscribe, and here's 2 other videos that I think you'll like.